Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of Waterboro, Maine, The Truth Reported. And I am your humble host, No Way. Today, I wanted to try to inform the people of what Gary Lamb and our fire chief, remember, two men that do not live in town, two men that do not pay taxes in this town, two men that have control over millions of dollars of your hard-earned money that they like to just flaunder. And we'll get into a little bit more of that in a little bit. First and foremost, what this video here is about the corruption of town buying private land for the use of a private water company out of Biddeford to use the land, to save them money. It's not to save the taxpayers of Waterboro any money. It will not benefit the people of Waterboro in any way, shape, or form. Because we don't have $10,000-$20,000 apiece to tie into their water system that is very inaccurate, inadequate. It's a joke. The water system in Waterboro is a joke. The water system came about quite a few years ago because of the typical corruption within town, and nobody holds their buddy systems accountable. But here 25 years ago or so in South Waterboro, a underground storage tanks for gasoline and stuff, they were leaking and they contaminated the ground. So again, the taxpayers of Waterboro ended up being on the hook for a private company. But now here we are again. What's going on in Waterboro? If it has to deal with the town or one of their buddy system people, they will find grants, they will find whatever money they can to hook everybody up and extend water lines and all this. But for the rest of us, like many people on the old Elford Road, where Dennis Abbott and the others helped cover up and hide known contaminated ground that they were all part of doing and covering up and hiding this corruption. If we on the old Elford Road want water to put up through here, somebody better have $1 million to start the ball rolling. And then they will have to charge the other people $10, $15, $20,000 to hook up to the line. See, it's all a big money grab. It's all where a private entity is making money and our town officials are putting the expense onto you. Now, how is that fair? How is that right? Especially coming from people that don't live in this town. They don't care how bad they harm you, how bad they hurt you, how bad they bankrupt you, as long as they get what they want regardless. Gary Lamb is not good for Waterboro. Neither is Matt Boris. Neither is any of the cronies he has put into place that don't live in this town, that are raping us of our hard-earned money. And of course, we know how America is today. You have a bunch of the elites that run everything, control everything, they own everything, and they will go out of their way to destroy you. But they can't stop me. They've tried, but they can't stop me. So what's happened here? The big lie now is, ladies and gentlemen, you need to, when you look at this little white map right here, you see number 47 right here, 47. 47, 46, 47A, this is already town land. This is our transfer station. These are privately owned housing lots. As you see, this little road thing right here, this is feeding these lots, but this road can be extended as a right-of-way, so this ain't landlocked. To get rid of this little piece of, well, we're going to keep it like this so the town can get their hands on it. And I'll talk about that in a bit. So what it is, 44-2-1. The town wants to purchase this property right here for $275,000. Now, when I was on the 2020 committee and we looked at this property right here, knowing that it was going to come up for sale, and it has been for sale, and the guy would like to dump it, so to say, deaths in families and this and that. So when I was on the comprehensive planning committee, we talked to the town about this property, which you see right here. You see this tall ridge. You can see the difference in the trees because this is a tall ridge going right through, and it's basically right up through here, right up through this dividing line is in this area. Now, what the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, we looked at this land, and as you see right here, this is the one we're talking about. So let me get rid of that, and let me show you what this looks like. This is the property. As you see, this line right here, that's one property. This is the up property, and this is the road I showed you right here that could be extended up in as a right-of-way instead of over here taking this land and ruining all this and demanding a right-of-way up through here into the property. But what it is, when we looked at it, this section of it right in here would be great for a small shopping center, mini mall type thing. Get some businesses, something so that we're not down here in the congested areas where everybody's in and out on. This is Route 5 and all these major roads in and out. And you know, it's hard when you have so many businesses all dumping onto the same road right beside each other. We understand. So this is why we looked at this, because you have access to other roads over here, over here. You have other ways that you can get into a nice development right here, something that will benefit the townspeople. We did suggest that the town buy this property. The cronies in town hall are right. We did suggest they buy this property. What we did not suggest is that you turn the rights over to it to a private company, namely the Water District out of Biddeford, Maine, that makes profit often the people of Waterboro, a small percentage that are allowed to hook up. When they came up Route 5, but this property right here, what it is with this ridge, ladies and gentlemen, that you see going through right here, this ridge right here, they want to come up on top here, and they want to allow the Water District to come in and construct a water tower, a second water tower. And they say that if we put it up here, it's taller, which is good. But we don't have to, if we put it over here in the lower land, we'll still have the elevation we need, but we'd have to come over here. If we can't go through this property, we have to come down here to the Bennett Hill Road and dig it all up to put in a water line to come down to Route 5 to tie in. So they want to put the water tower here and come down through all of this. See, right in here. And they want to come down through. If they were to come down the Bennett Hill Road and dig it all up, that would be an expense. That we do know. And let me put that straight again. There we go. So they want to come down through here and tie into Route 5 that's down here. If they were to put it over here, like I said, they'd have the elevation, but they'd have to come over to Bennett Hill Road and dig it all up. All this sounds good and great. Now the problem is, how did the town of Waterboro get so much extra money to be able to purchase this land to turn it over to a water district that we can't tie in, ladies and gentlemen? We can't tie in unless we have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do so. Now, let me dump out of here for a minute and show you. This is the overview of the area. This is your middle school. This little dark spot right here is the toxic waste pit where Monsanto dumped. I've got documents proving all of this. There are two aquifers right here, ladies and gentlemen. Two aquifers. This one over here flows down this way. This one over here flows down this way. This is right full of toxins. Big time. Everything that you can imagine was dumped in here through the 60s into the early 70s. Until finally, the people in the local area around here, let me draw this down. The local people in here started saying, you know, what's going on in this pit over here in the middle of the night? Big trucks. Well, big trucks were dumping toxins. Monsanto paid the owner of the gravel pit that lives right over in here, that lived right, let me see, right here. He lived right here, and he owned the gravel pit. And he got paid by Monsanto for them to come up. He said, oh, they are empty barrels. What kind of lie is that? Why would Monsanto want to travel all the way to some little pissant town in Maine to bury empty 55-gallon drums? Come to find out, there were many, many, many drums buried and emptied, and they were right full of toxins. That Monsanto, being in bed with the government, does not have to dispose of these toxins properly, but they can find little idiots in little pissant towns like Waterboro and scumbags like Dennis Abbott that turn a blind eye because he's off in another area. But what it is, ladies and gentlemen, they want to come right here and put in that water tower and tie into here. For the past 8 years, we've been saying all of these dwellings in this area right here have water contamination problems. Some couldn't care less. Some had the money to invest $15,000, $20,000 in wells. I know of people that live right down in this line right here in this spot and coming up into this road here that have spent thousands and thousands of dollars to have new wells drilled, to only 4 to 5 years later for them to be recontaminated with the same toxins and poisons and heavy metals. Now, we've wanted the town to work with us to, let's put, the water line comes up here. When they put the town water in up here, they came right up here like so. They came around here like so. Blast from the past. Millions of dollars. And now anybody in here that wanted to tie in had to pay thousands. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just to put water into their house because they own the rights now. Well, I'm sorry. Us over here, We don't have a few $100,000 or more to say, hey, we need a water line put up through here, because the town openly covered it up. The federal government allowed it. See, Massabesic Middle School. And there's toxins in this pit right now. And you'll see, if you go down through my videos when they first started, you will see the toxins that surface in this pit that have contaminated everybody's water. And the town doesn't want to hear it, because the town would have to admit fault. Our crappy little Waterboro reporter, she couldn't care less. She's all the way up in here. See, there's Little Ospey Lake, and they all live up in here in Yuppieville, in Lake Arrowhead, and all these areas. See, they come up in here, and here's your, oh, see all this nice North Waterboro development? And you see this Lake Arrowhead Estates? See? Right here, Lake Arrowhead Estates. This is the new one that just popped up here, ladies and gentlemen. These are all a bunch of spec homes. And as you can see, 1, 2, a person does live here, 3, 4, 5. It looks like maybe 5, maybe 6 of the homes are actually sold. But this is what they use for claiming there's such great development going on. Because look, we had 12 new home permits. No, this is a housing development. It's one of those foolish things of build it and they will come. But I digress. But anyway, when it comes to this, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to this, we now get this great little document from our commander and fool, or should I say, our out-of-town village idiot, Gary Lamb. He is right. We have been talking about this map and this selection for a potential business park, but the high price of nearly $400,000 prevented any real negotiations. So they brought it down to $275,000. So the guy took $125,000 off it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, $125,000 off in the $400,000 price is not really much when you're talking in town. But as he comes down across here, he keeps talking about the inadequacy of our water district that we don't own. We don't own. The taxpayers of Waterboro should not be on the hook for a private company out of Biddeford and their infrastructure and their profit and their tanks. They're so incompetent. It hasn't been cleaned. It hasn't been cleaned out. This should be done every 10 years, but they're so incompetent that they haven't done it in 25 years. That's how long the water district's been here. So here again, they go on about, so who cares? See, he keeps talking the water district. This is not a town entity. We have no say in the matter what goes on in this private company. But for some reason, Gary Lamb feels like it's your responsibility as a property owner and a taxpayer to pay for their whims. And that's wrong, ladies and gentlemen, that's wrong. He goes on to talk about where it is. And of course, they despise this. They despise this JD Packing and Redemption because he doesn't play ball. When it comes to let me click back on here. The problem we have here in Waterboro, down on the end, so when you come down here, you see this little supermarket right here? This guy right here that owns this supermarket and this gas station and everything, he's right in bed with the town. He gets into all the committees and he's starting to demand for years. And I will say, if you notice right here, they like to say business friendly. See right here, they like to say business friendly. Well, it's not business friendly, ladies and gentlemen, because this guy right here has been after the sole business of this campground. This campground for the past 5 years, they've cleaned this area all out. They've started getting it ready. They wanted to move and expand this. They finally, through legal channels, prove that the planning board and the cronies in town cannot stop them from doing what they want to do, as they've been doing for years. Now that this is all okayed, that this is most likely going to come to fluidity within the next couple of years, this little buddy over here, buddy system, he wants to keep this, get a road connected right through here to here and make it a town road. He wants, so the people can come out of here, come over here, and come right in to his store. Now the problem is with this guy is down here, here again, this is the land they want to buy. And here's JD Packing Store and Redemption. He holds a liquor store license. He can sell hard liquor. Okay? He's the only one in town that can. So instead of being fair and sharing the wealth, when you come up to Lakeside, when you come up here to Lakeside, well, now he's demanding that he has the right to sell the same stuff that the other guy does, because he wants to take and corner and monopolize all the business in East Waterboro. You know, people will say, well, hey, that's free market. No, when you're using town government to put harm onto one business that will benefit your business, that's cronyism. That's not free market capitalism. We don't need 2 liquor stores. We have one. And if, you know, there's so much amenities that he sells that the other store don't. He has he has cooked pizza, stuff like that, sandwich shop. He has gas pumps. But that's not good enough for this man, because he keeps buying up all of this land, all of this land. Over here, there was a church. It sat right in here. There was a church. And what was too bad about it is this was the church, actually, I think, right here. See this building? It's kind of hid. This right here was a church, ladies and gentlemen. And what's too bad, this is the one that had the lesbian preacher for 30 years, that she didn't tell the people she was a homosexual. Until when Maine finally got enough corrupt and voter fraud and everything to push through their agenda of their liberal snowflake agenda of gay marriage and spitting in God's face, this Jezebel showed up one Sunday with her wife. But I digress. But yes, this is what's going on. So what the whole purpose of this video is, ladies and gentlemen, this land right here, if the town was going to purchase it, should be allocated and used to benefit all Waterboro taxpayers, all citizens. But to turn over a big chunk of it and make it all What if they turn and drill a well up here? Now, all of this is undevelopable. You cannot develop anything in this because it would be a wellhead protection zone. You see, so it's not benefiting. Now, how did the town get all this money, you ask? And because when you come down here, and of course, you see selectmen then conducted a short executive session, and then in public session the same evening voted 5-0 to direct the town administrator to pursue the acquisition. Now, since Waterboro has a healthy fund balance, selectmen decided to ask voters to approve this transaction using cash from our unassigned fund balance, previously at $2 million. Of uncommitted funds, in addition to our $1.1 million emergency fund. You know where this $2 million came from, ladies and gentlemen? It came from the Waterboro assessor here 5 maybe to 8 years ago, went out and they reevaluated everybody's property in town. And it took the state about 5 years to catch the town in their corruption of they over-evaluated everybody's property. So they start collecting all this big money on your property tax. And they start funding all their cronyism. So all of a sudden, they got $2 million. $2 million extra. They did get caught. And we got screwed even harder because they lowered the evaluations, but many of us ended up now paying more in tax on a lower evaluation because they just laughed, and the only thing they did is they turned and they upped the mill rate. Because we don't care about how bad Waterboro suffers because Gary Lamb, Matt Boris, all of these cronies in town hall, they don't live in town. They don't feel that hardship. They don't feel that extra tax coming out. They don't feel that slap in the face as Gary Lamb insults you. So when we move through this document, and we come down, of course, this is state law. But what I'm asking, ladies and gentlemen, on March 27th, they're not going to have a regular voting session like they normally do. This is going to be, you have to go to the town hall to vote. And I'm asking you all to go there and vote no. Until the town puts provisions in. If they want to buy it, fine. But you don't go turning it over to a water district that will have no benefit of the taxpayers of Waterboro. It's not going to benefit us in any way, shape, or form. We are being put on the hook again to buy land, to give it to a private company to make money off in you. This ain't right, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not right. And for them to carry on, and yes, right there, go ahead. You need to be contacting this clown because he is going to lie to you, but know your facts ahead of time. Because the biggest thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this was one fire we needed more water. But do you understand that in your fire department, even in your town, it's a thing called per diem spending. Waterboro has $250,000 to $300,000 in their fire department budget, which is for every time that another town has a fire and they go there, or we have a fire and they come here, it's to pay you. Think of this, ladies and gentlemen. Say Elford and Waterboro. They tax their citizens and they put $250,000 to $300,000 into the budget for per diem payments. So when Elford has a fire and Waterboro goes over there to cover their station, to sit there on their duff and cover their station, just in case another call comes in, Elford pays them. When we have a fire and Elford sends trucks and personnel over to our central station to sit on their duff in case another call comes in, oh, we pay them. Ain't that nice? The taxpayers put all this money into a pool, and the only people getting paid are the fire departments. They're paying each other back and forth. That's how corrupt that system is. I bet you didn't realize that happens, did you? But therein again lies the problem. Why do we have 40, 50 volunteer firefighters in Waterboro, but we can never get enough to man the trucks when we have a fire? They're carrying on about all this because we need water. We need water. What do you mean? We have tankers. We have lakes. Even in the wintertime, they have big attachments. You go right down in and it goes right down into the ground, and you can draw the groundwater right out of pools and everything. There's all kinds of setup. But no, now they want to do this with the water district. When we told them that that land, ladies and gentlemen, that this land right here should be used for amenities for all town Waterboro population. Not just come up here and throw a water tower on top and make this all protected land, and now there it sets, nobody can use it. And what do they want to do? Come over here into the swamp. This is all swampland, ladies and gentlemen. As you see, they've pushed developments and stuff, and they keep pushing, but this is all swamp down through here, and especially like even over into here, it's all swamp. This was a health center that went to crap. This is where they put never any parts available, and Aroma Joe's. They put Aroma Joe's here with a Dunkin' Donuts here. Then they put a Flippin' Good Pizza here with another pizza shop down here. See, so this is the kind of foolishness that Waterboro's up to. They need to be held accountable for what they're doing here, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need another gravel pit. We don't need 4 or 5 more businesses that are the same as what you already have here. There's no diversity, no nothing. It's dog eat dog, and they set it up that way. We need sustainable development and not the Agenda 21. We need real development, things that will make it in time, things that will benefit all Waterboro taxpayers and not just a handful of cronies like, Dave Benton, the public works director that was handed a nice big cushioning job. He was part of the water district committee. He was the head cookie of it all. He's the one now right in bed, right along with all the others and Gary Lamb and them, to see that his little buddies in the Biddeford private company get their hands on town land. And as it says, if you read this document, this is to save them money. See, the water district realized cost for a new storage tank could be reduced if the tank could be constructed on town-owned land. Well, of course. And when you have people running the town that are as corrupt as they are here, then yeah, they're going to use your taxes to buy land and let them have it. Now again, how corrupt is that? So I encourage you all, on March 27th, 2018, go into the town hall and vote no. Tell these guys and tell Gary Lamb and them, you're going to start working for Waterboro, or we just may have to come together, ladies and gentlemen, and get rid of the Board of Selectmen and who sits on it. Replace them with real people. Get rid of the Woodsums and the Abbotts and Littlefield and their little cronies. You know, their little yes men and this Doyle and Neal. Get rid of them. Once we get real selectmen in there that care about Waterboro, then we can get rid of Gary Lamb. And we can get rid of all these out-of-town department heads raping you every year in massive taxes that do nothing but benefit them and harm you. The school system's bad enough. Them bunch of communist cronies, it's pathetic. This town is such a bunch of cowards they won't even stand up to it. But that'll be for another video. And I'll show you just how bad our school system truly is. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for my rants. And remember, this land is not for just any old private company to come in that is not public use. This would be a private company as a utility, not a business, a utility that we can't afford to use anyway. So put a stop to this corruption, ladies and gentlemen. Save yourselves a lot of money. And until next time, this is No Way Out.